Hey,
I've been missing those old intro graphics and things.
Yep. Yeah, we can make this. Oh, wait a minute. How did I take your screen off? Oh, I have to put it back.
I probably minimized it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. I don't know if this is a good idea, but you see, I'm awake in the morning. In the afternoon, I don't give a shit about any of you people.
I've noticed that.
I tend to
make big plans. Hey, let's do a stream this afternoon, and I get there, and you're going, I think I want to take a nap.
Yeah, well, yeah, or go and look at my mushrooms or whatever. I just don't give a shit so much in the afternoon. It's kind of odd. In the morning, I can be all fired up about a subject, and of course, that's when I do my best studying. So anyway, so what's been going on? I've been studying embryology of the fruit fly, and I think it's going to take me a year. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to get all ready in 1 week and go on Austin Sims' channel and have a talk about embryology. But I hate talking about anything unless I really know it like the back of my hand. So I don't know. Whatever. So
looks like we've been joined by Dave, aka Laurie Hayes, as well as the trees. Look at the trees.
Yeah.
Great to see both of y'all here.
Yeah, trees. I'm trying to be less of a slacker, trees, and actually do some videos and maybe get some of these ideas out. One reason is, I'm really old and I'm not going to be around that long. I got all these ideas buzzing around in my head. And why do I think that you guys need my fucking opinion? Right? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, it's not so much the why do you need my opinion? Because yes, speaking of universals, it's a universal that old dudes have to share their opinion to anybody and everybody. It's just, why aren't we on the front porch of the general store in rocking chairs, whittling and spitting? That's the real question, because that's usually traditionally where that has taken place.
Harassing teenagers that come in to buy vape material and little kids that come in to buy penny candy. That's what we should be.
And complaining about parents today.
And kids today, man. Kids today. Oh, God, they're just kids today. They're on TikTok and they're on Instagram. And the religious people are claiming that they're inviting Satan into their life and demons. Did you watch that video from yesterday? That was pretty amazing. We'll have to go over
I have not watched that yet.
Oh, anyway, they're going on and on about the place of women and how TikTok and Instagram and all this media totally introduces women to the devil and demons and Satan. And it diverts them from the real path, which is to pop out children and take care of the old man.
That's right. Pop out children and fetch my beer.
It makes them think that they can have a career instead of pop out children, which is Satan, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a woman with an education is like, you can't have that.
Yeah. What's up with that? What's up with that?
What's up with that? Anyway, Scott, so nominalism and universal. So nominalism irritates me, obviously.
You seem irritated. You get irritated whenever you mention somebody who's a nominalist.
I hate them, yeah. And the reason for that is I I think a long time ago, I started taking a look at the universe when people will say, "Oh, the senses are unreliable, and what we see out there might not be real. It might be this, it might be that." I, being a bit of a rebel, always wanted to say, maybe it is. Maybe it is fucking real. Maybe what you see is really what's there. And so I've been doing that my whole life, coming up with a form of hearkening back to naive realism as a starting point, and going from there and adding science to create a naturalism and a physicalism that I can live with. And so every time
in favor of the what you see is really there, you have to think about the like if you really want to see what's in a drop of water you got from the pond, you have to prepare your slide and even prepare your sample to be able to see that, so that under certain conditions you're not going to be able to see under the microscope very well, but in other conditions you are going to be able to see under the microscope very well. You have to prepare your sample. And I see human vision seeing real things kind of the same way. Yes, under certain conditions we're going to see illusions, we're going to see things that aren't there maybe, but when you know the optimal conditions for human sight, yeah, we're going to see what's there. It's not an illusion. It's just, light and our receptors are compatible with one another at that time.
Yeah. One of the big things you encounter in philosophy early on is the unreliability of the senses when you get into philosophy of mind. And they come up, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But you have a co-pilot piece on nominalism, right? And I've got a few too.
Pop that up. Now, I realize, like I was saying before, that Chat GPT and Copilot and other AIs can. You just want me to roll it down to the nominalism point, or it's just a little more.
Can you make it big again? Nobody can see it right now.
Do I have to reshare it?
I don't know. How the hell? Okay, I wonder if I don't know how you do this. All I have is a remove option.
Yeah.
And if I go to menu, it says authenticated with Scott Duke, and I can't do it.
Well, I'm going to hit stop sharing, and then I'm just going to share it again. Maybe there was a timeout or something on that.
Boy, that's clunky. Yeah.
Yep. I think just about all of these platform, what are they, aggregators, where you can bring together aspects of different platforms through another platform. I think they're all clunky, because when you have so many social media apps that you can bring together, then they're not always going to work together well. Even with the best coding.
Look at the trees. Ask, what does nominalism mean? So that's kind of what we're gonna get at here. So, what is there something above Platonic realism that we're not seeing?
Well, it's just like I said. I asked for a summary of the different viewpoints on universals, because I, just going in it without having thought of universals specifically, I realized just from past knowledge there's going to be different definitions of what a universal is, and then different schools of thought and what they think about universals, to the point where I've come to the conclusion that a lot of this philosophical talk, the a prioris are formed by your particular school of thought, just like these folks with transcendental arguments think of grounding into something that's permanent and objective. That's just from a particular let's call it a particular paradigm of how things are. And if you don't share that paradigm, you're not going to share those a prioris.
Right.
And so I think they're paradigm dependent on some other aspect of your metaphysical thinking. I think these metaphysical topics kind of feed into one another, and you have to be careful what you're basing it on. Their paradigm, well, I'm not going to go on about that. This is about universals and Platonic realism. So this little blurb right here about Platonic realism, that's pretty much all it's got.
Let's see. I'm writing something down. Okay. Realists believe that universals exist independently of particular things. Now, exist. Okay, we're talking about what exists. They argue that properties like redness, beauty, or roundness exist, whether or not they are instantiated in particular objects. Okay, so I think that's not exactly my position. So they have to be instantiated in, not in particular objects, but in the structure of where objects are in space and time. But anyway, okay. So
let's quickly identify
the different form.
I think it's Jess from How to Rule an Asteroid has joined us.
Oh, hi, Jess.
Yeah.
Hi, Jess. Anyway, okay. You're typing.
Yes, I am. I was typing a greeting.
You know, I put my microphone on this big pile of foam that my son got from Factor Meals in his Factor Meals deliveries, and it actually eliminated a lot of that thump. Anyway, but that's okay, Scott. I'm just giving you more shit than you need.
Okay, well that's fine. I should mute myself before I type.
Well, you're not going to remember to do that. You should fix that mic. We'll talk about it. Anyway, we'll live with it today. Okay. So Platonic realism, Platonic realism is that universals exist as some abstract form that guides the formation of the universe, right? So they're
not only saying red exists. Platonic realism would say redness exists as an entity.
As a form, yeah, as a form.
As a form, yeah.
Beauty exists.
The only difference between a form of a car and a car is that the form exists, but somewhere, you know.
Okay.
The whole idea to me just doesn't seem rational. Well, rational is a loaded word when you're talking philosophy. It seems like you're dreaming up ideas to cover over other ideas that you can't account for.
Right. Okay. First of all, redness, we're going to rule that out because that is the worst example of an abstract. Roundness is an example. Beauty is another really bad one. Okay. We'll get into why a little bit later, but roundness, now that's something we can talk about, or triangleness, or squares, or things like that, or numbers, right? As universals. So when they start talking about redness, the philosopher is blowing smoke out of his ass, and you need to stop him right there, because there's a whole lot more to be considered when you bring humans into the equation, and that is the problem I have in nominalism. Anyway, okay, so but Platonic realism is the idea that the universe is not the stuff that's in it, but rather it is these forms that have basically created the stuff that's in it, I believe. So that's Platonism. Now, the orthodoxy and the tag people believe in these universals as Platonic forms, but they believe they are in the mind of God. Okay, so that's their difference with Plato. Plato says that is reality, the forms, right? And the religious people say, oh, no, reality is God in God's mind, and the forms are in God's mind. Okay, so there we go. Now, Aristotelian realism, they exist, but only in particular things. So I'm closer to Aristotle. Universals are immanent, meaning they exist within object. For example, redness exists within every red object. So I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah,
that would.
I was kind of making the same assessment earlier when we pulled this up and we're looking at it.
Yeah.
Kind of in the Sylvester the cat. That sounds logical, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't do that lisp with my tongue like Sylvester does, but you know, just as a first impression, I feel like I align with the Aristotelian. What was that other point of view? I was kind of looking at a summary of different viewpoints aligning with Quine on a different topic. You know, you just read it and go, yeah, you know, I've had thoughts like that before, much more than, you know, the other one, which was Kant. So, you know, I'll look into it more, but maybe reading Quine will not raise my blood pressure, although it may lull me to sleep.
Yep. So,
by the way, I just wanted to point out, I don't think that what we've encountered on YouTube is really orthodoxy. It should from now on be called brothodoxy, because it's just kind of bro theology that has attached itself like a parasite to orthodoxy. Now, it could be that orthodoxy is so patriarchal that it fits a lot of these extreme right-leaning people, to where, you know, maybe it is really aligned with brothodoxy. Yes, that's very true, Jess. That's one person I had in my mind when I thought of the term brothodoxy.
J. Dyer, Wilson, a few. Ananias, is that what it is? Ananias?
Yeah, yeah.
That dude. The thing is that I think this brothodoxy is taking over the Orthodox Church in the United States. And yesterday there was a video talking about how droves of young men are converting to Orthodoxy, and they were trying to figure out why. And these Protestants thought it was because of this masculine thing, because men are craving something that reinvigorates their, oh, I'm a man, and, you know, this is what it means to be a man. And there's a lot of that shit going on. It's all about what it means to be a real man. A real man don't listen to no women. A real man provides for his woman and really loves her a lot. But actually, he just wants to have sex with her. But anyway, yeah, Orthodox.
Austin Sims has joined us, by the way. Welcome, Austin.
Hi, Austin. So, and the Orthodoxy, basically, their whole thing is this, not Platonic realism, but theistic realism, that it's in the mind of God, that is the word in the mind of God. And they have all kinds of incredible doctrine to support this. And they're going to be bitching that I'm strawmanning them and stuff. But if I am, it's because I just don't know too much about your position, because I don't really think it's rational to even start where you start. So anyway, okay. So we have Aristotle. Okay, so nominalists deny the existence of universals. So what do we mean by exist?
Yeah, yeah. Now, there's Aristotelian realism. And of course, this is the way the AI generated the summary. For example, redness exists within every red object. I don't use the phrase exists probably like they do. You know, I think in terms of culture and human minds, and how memory helps us react or interact with the physical world. As people, as humans with brains, we remember what red things are. But with our neural network, we come to the conclusion that there's a thing that all these red objects share called redness. And so, whoop, you know, we come up with a kind of a brain space for a new idea called redness somebody came up with the word redness, and it spread all through this network of human brains throughout time too, because we have a culture and we relate these things to others in like English class and such, to where redness was an idea that was generated by neural networks in people's brains, who then remembered what redness was and passed it on to others. And so, yeah, redness sort of exists, but I know a lot of our bro types hate the idea of what's the word, emergent properties. If it's a constructed property, shall we call it, by our brains to account for the thing, or sorry about that, it's time for me to get up. The thing that everything shares.
Okay.
So, am I making sense? Am I making sense? To me, I have not a nominalist, but a physicalist way to account for things existing that really don't exist in the world of atoms and plasma and shit like that.
Right. Do you see my screen, Scott?
Actually, can you make that bigger?
I could, but then I'm going to make you go away, and I don't want to do that. So anyway, redness is the worst fucking example. Let's stop using redness. Let's start talking about shapes and numbers.
Okay, numbers and shapes.
Redness is going to get us off the page. So anyway, so let's consider triangularity, basically. And I've got some dots drawn on my little thing on the left. If you can, it's very tiny, but I have two different triangular positioning of particles is basically okay. So we're going to talk about whether or not triangles exist, that sort of thing. Does a triangle exist rather than redness? Because redness, we get into the whole eye brain thing and all that crap. So that's why it's the worst example. Fair. Okay, basically, trees.
I'm gonna mute you and reply to something that Trees said that's really interesting. Actually, let me just reply verbally. Redness is a light spectrum, right? I think it just from the hip. Actually, red that is a light spectrum. Redness is something we assign to. We collect. It's a category we collect all these objects into that have red light coming from them, that reflect red light so that we can see it, or generate red light so we can see it. So redness to me is a collecting pot. It's it's the basket you walk around in the store with and put things in. And if you have a basket that is redness, you put red things in it.
Right.
If you start putting yellow and blue things in it, the redness basket becomes meaningless. You might as well not have anything on the redness basket that says redness.
Yeah, and this is where nominalism becomes easier to defend when you talk about redness. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about numbers and triangles, it's a little bit different.
Right.
So, anyway, okay. Nominalisms, they deny the existence of universals. They argue that only particular things exist. The universals are merely names or labels we use to describe similarities between objects. Extreme nominalism, there are no universals, only individual objects. Any perceived similarity are purely linguistic or conceptual or cultural.
Well, but when you say conceptual, and here's my viewpoint. When you say conceptual, what exactly are you saying? Because somebody in English class taught me about the idea of redness, or maybe my mom or dad did, or my grandfather did when we were out walking, taught me about redness. Use the word redness. Look at the redness on this blister, or something like that. In daily interaction with people and with things, the idea of redness came up, and I remembered it. So did you. So did 7 billion people on this planet. We're up to 7 billion now, right? So the idea of redness is in a lot of people's memories, and it's in their memories as, you know, neurons, whatever other assisting chemicals and items reside in our memory, to the point where every time we need to deal with the collection of red objects, we pull up redness. Same thing with triangles. You know, somebody taught me what a triangle was. I didn't come up with the word triangle. I didn't come up with the idea of triangle. Maybe at some point I noticed that certain things, certain segments would come together in threes and have three angles. And subsequently, once I learned what degrees are, they added up to what, 180 degrees. So that there was this idea of triangles, but nobody taught it to me. I remember the idea of triangle from what I was taught. I'm sorry, I don't mean nobody taught it to me. I mean, I didn't invent it myself, and somebody had to teach it to me. So that we all have these brain cells that are holding out to the idea of triangle and associating it with those objects we see that are basically three lines coming together, three segments coming together, whose angles add up to 180 degrees, and what other definitions, you know, make up a triangle. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm rambling.
Yep.
Okay, so that is my physicalist idea of these universals. They rely on the physical aspects of our brain, which hold on to memory for us. Memory is not spiritual; it is brain cellular.
Yes. Okay, I'll put that. Oh shit! How does this keep happening? I know. Let's keep switching over to erase. Okay.
We need to have a shut the fuck up banner that scrolls, so that when I'm going on and on like this, and you need me to shut the fuck up, that you just flash it on there so I can eventually read it when I'm not ranting.
Yeah, I'd have the banner up constantly 24/7. So anyway, it wouldn't do us any good. Anyway, okay, so yeah, the thing is, okay, we're talking about ontology, we're talking about metaphysics, right? So what we want to do, and maybe, God, I'm going to switch over to that. There's a reason why I want to bracket all things human and try to set them aside and try to not talk about memory and brains and concepts and linguistics or any of that stuff. And now the nominalist, that's all they want to talk about. Okay, they're making a point about how humans perceive universals in the universe, right? But I'm trying to think now, let's just think about the world, the universe without humans. Let's try to abstract ourselves away, which is, you know, a lofty goal, but probably impossible in the long run. But I think we can make progress toward bracketing all things human and saying, screw that for now. So what exists? So when they deny the existence of universals, now universals is kind of catchy because you're talking about, well, let's look at electrons, okay? Let's deny that there is something about electrons that every electron shares, because electrons are like identical to each other as far as we know, okay? So there is something electronness. There's an electronness to electrons. And so would the nominalists deny that? They'd say, oh, well, it doesn't really exist. It only exists in each individual electron. Okay. If there were no electrons, of course, there wouldn't be electronness. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
But how can they deny that the physical reality, the ontological reality out there is that there are many electrons? I don't know how many, but there's a lot. And they all are identical to each other in all properties and all effect, basically. Electrons are like each other. So they're saying that that thing doesn't exist. And I'm saying, whoa, wait a minute. You mean it doesn't exist in the sense Now we're going to slide into humans, right? Humans would look at electrons and say, oh, it has this property and that property and this property. So we're going to put them all in the same bag, like you were saying. We're going to put them in the same bucket, right? But then we're going to name it electrons. So now we've slid off into linguistics. And then we're going to remember what electrons are about. Now we slid off into the brain. So all of those things, the nominalists are saying, are real for humans, but you take humans out of the equation and there is no electronness. But that's not true. We know that electrons are the same. They have the same causal effects as all other electrons, right? So when you look at reality or existence, you want to look at what is causal. And electrons are definitely causal, as you know, every time you turn the ignition key on your car and start it up, right?
Or when you touch somebody who has just walked across your carpet with rubber shoes,
or if you put a fork in the outlet,
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, well, I do. Yeah, I keep forgetting not to do that. Oh, that's why my hair looks like it does. Anyway. Okay, so moderate nominalism, universals exist, but only as concepts in the mind. Okay, so they're saying that. So extreme nominalism says, not bullshit. Everything we say about universals is made up bullshit. Moderate nominal, I don't see the difference here. Moderate nominalism says they only exist in the mind. Extreme nominalist says they don't even exist in the mind, that we're just full of shit, that we're just idiots, right? What do you think? What is the difference
between extreme nominalism and moderate? Universals exist, but only as concepts in the mind.
Yeah, and the first one says any person.
The thing I would do is, it's, why not replace the word you're using with the definition of the word, like triangularity. I guess that's a universal. Well, that is the things I was talking about earlier. 3 segments, touching at the end points, whose angles add up to 180 degrees, plus whatever other qualities or properties that mathematicians have assigned to them.
Okay.
So those exist, so the things that share triangularity are that the things that triangles share, those triangular shapes exist in reality. The concept of, but I kind of agree that the concept of triangularity is in the mind, but once again, there's that physical basis of them in the chemicals and memories and whatever connecting algorithms are in place in our brain to help us reconstruct that memory once we're triggered to remember it. There's a physical basis to it.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm getting a little confused as to really what they're trying to say.
Okay, there are no triangles, only individual objects. Any perceived similarities are purely linguistic or conceptual. And then moderate nominalism says universals exist, but only as concepts in the mind, which is the same thing that they just said. Any perceived similarity are linguistic and conceptual. So extreme nominalism and moderate nominalism seem like 2 very slightly different versions of the same damn thing. They're saying that it only exists in your mind. Let's see. I think it's not just in the mind anymore. Once you can measure it, our perception. Yeah, the thing is, if it was just in your mind and in my mind, then how in the hell did we both come up with the same concept of triangle? And how do we come up with the same mathematics? And if there's a person on the other side of the universe, or the universe or world, that thinks entirely differently than us, do you believe that he would not be able to figure out what a triangle is? But the point I want to make here is really important, okay? So if you look at my little diagram on the left where I have two different triangles, you can kind of see them. Okay, what this is not just the objects themselves. Like, okay, we know there are three objects right here and three more over here. But the thing is, it's where they are in space and time. So space and time is fundamental to all of this. And what the nominalist always leaves out is where things are. Like, where are they, right? They want to just push that aside because they're looking for something called parsimony in metaphysics. They want to have as few objects as possible. So they just want to say, oh, there's these individual objects, but we can't say anything about where they are. Well, you can't leave where things are out, because if you don't stick the fork in the socket, you're not going to get the shock, right? If you're far from the socket, you're not going to get the shock. Where things are really important. And I think nominalism leaves that out. And what nominalism is trying to do is bring in a little too much humanity. And that's where I say it's all too human. They want to talk about minds and concepts and linguistics. And I want to say, okay, let's bracket that. Let's talk about what things are. And when you talk about what things are, you've got to talk about where things are. Because I don't know of any culture that can get out of space-time. I don't understand. So, okay. So that's nominalism. So how about conceptualism? Conceptualism sounds oddly similar. Zeitgeist is a proper term for when two or more separate individuals come up with a new concept, like radio or motion. Yeah, I don't know. Is it? I'm not sure what zeitgeist means.
That's a cultural term.
When two individuals come up with the same thing, like if two individuals on separate sides, opposite sides of the planet, both come up with the idea that they can chip this little tool and they can use it to skin an animal, right? Now, did they come up with that all by themselves inside of their mind? Or was there something outside of their mind that was really important in how they came up with that? Like, for instance, animals and rocks.
Or maybe they fell down one day when they were out in the woods and landed on the pointy part of a rock outcrop, cut their hand, and realized, wow, those rocks, when they're pointy like that, can be used to really hurt me. And then for some reason, somehow, they got the idea, can I use a rock to hurt?
Right. But they never would have come up with it without an animal to skin and a rock to chip.
Right. So, yeah, there's always a physical. Am I going to use the word substrate? I'm not going to use the word substrate because that's very Jordan Peterson-is. Yeah. And I don't want to sound like Jordan Peterson, but there's always some physical aspect underlying these things, which is why I'm emphasizing the idea that universals at least exist in the mind, because culture came up with universals and taught universals, and now there's a physical basis for these things.
Yep. So again, if we bracket humans and all that bullshit, we don't have to talk about that at all. We're just talking about what exists. Rocks exist, animals exist, humans exist as objects. Conceptualism. So what do they got to say about that? Can you scroll up a little bit, Scott?
Oh, hold on, please. Please.
Well, Snack, what do you think, Snack? Snack, are you going to fuck with my iPad? Snack is like really a problem. This is the Snack problem. I got the Snack problem there. Where's his head? Where are you, Snack?
I've had a snack problem all my life.
It's a snack problem, man. It's a snack problem. Okay. Oh, he's covering his eyes. He didn't want to listen to us. Okay. Conceptualists hold middle ground between realism and nominalism. They believe that ChatGPT accused me of that too. They believe that universals exist, but only as mental constructs or concepts. So if they only exist as mental constructs or concepts, where did they come from, and why do two humans on the opposite side of the planet both come up with the idea to create a tool for skinning animals? So I think that's bullshit.
But you're saying the structure of the universe is what allows human brains to come up with these ideas,
right,
independently, and which I agree with.
And the structure of the universe would cause some alien species who had the same needs to do the same thing. And he may see the world entirely differently, have no idea what redness is, or, you know, any of the senses that we have, but he has enough senses to skin an animal and eat it. So he comes up with a tool too. Now, trope theory is something that I still don't get, to tell you the truth.
Well, it doesn't seem to me to qualify as an independent theory. But once again, this is a summary done by an AI engine. So, you know, it's going to have possible pitfalls in how it summarizes certain ideas. It just seems to me that trope, the idea of the trope, is kind of included in some of the other theories about universals. Each instance of a property is a unique individual entity. Instead of universal redness, there are many individual redness tropes, each specific to a particular red object. Well, I don't know that that's even a necessary thing to talk about.
Yeah,
I think it's adding a concept that's you know, multiplying entities, like our good old friend Occam would say.
Yeah, there's a bit of truth in it, in that every single individual red object is going to be very slightly different than every other red object. But when you get down to electrons, you can't say that same thing, because electrons are going to have the same exact causal effects no matter where they are, or, you know, no matter across all electrons, right? So when you look at redness, now you could say that. And what they're saying is that there's a tension between my two different triangles over there. Okay, there's a tension between them. They are not the same triangle. They're different, yet there's something about them that makes those three dots triangularly related, right? That sort of thing. But there's a difference in size. So I mean, each one is a unique instance of triangleness, and I think that's what tropes are. Is, you know, a unique individual entity. That both of these triangles are unique individual entities. And then they're claiming that there's nothing universal about them. Are they saying that? Different perspectives. Let's see. There are many individual resonance tropes, each specific. Okay, but they're saying if you can classify it as a trope, then why is that? There's something similar about the two triangles that allows you to classify them both as triangles, as the same as a particular trope. So I guess that's what they're saying. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yes. For 6:52 a.m., it makes enough sense. It's got a senseness to it.
Right. I got a picture of a book on the left, The Theory of Complex Systems.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to mention this. My son's bought that for me like 3 years ago for Christmas.
So it's at least a 3-year-old book or more.
Yeah, it's been sitting in my bathroom for 3 years. My bathroom reader.
Bathroom?
Yeah, my bathroom reader.
I've never had anybody say that they keep a systems theory textbook in their bathroom.
Some people keep a Playboy in there. Some people keep chicken soup for the soul. I keep the Theory of Complex Systems.
That's right.
And the mathematics is pretty dense, but it has a remarkable section on evolution and physics and the scientific method, what it actually is, what it means. And it's a wonderful, it's all about statistics and probability. And it's really a good book. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. I don't know. Someday we'll talk about that. Okay. So maybe it's a good idea to talk about how I do this stuff, right? What do you think? I don't know.
You want to talk about how you do this stuff? Sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna make me big, make you little, make me big. So what happens if I do this? Yeah, your fucking share goes away. Now,
Yeah.
can I put your share? Oh, I can put your share back up.
You have the power. Yeah, because I'm still sharing my screen, but you're still in control of whether or not it appears.
Right. Now, how do I put my thing up? That's the problem.
I thought that was your thing.
It was. Well, no. Wait a minute. No, that's your thing.
No, the primacy of space-time object isn't that your thing?
Yeah, but if I click the big button, it makes your thing big, not my thing.
Oh.
Okay. So I got to remove your thing. I'm going to remove it. Okay.
Okay.
Remove your thing.
Remove it.
You sound reluctant.
No, I'm fine. I really don't care.
Yeah. Now I can't show anything.
In fact, what I do care about is the fact I just realized I still have coffee in my cup. Isn't that just like a slice of happiness? You think you're out of coffee, but then it turns out, oh, I still have coffee in my cup. That's a little moment, a little slice of happiness.
It's a snack. Oh, you can almost see him. Snack. Come on, say hi, Snack. Say hi, Snack. Say hi to the world. It's a snack. Anyway, I love my cats. I love my cats too much. Too much. Okay. So, first of all, what just happened here? Little window? Huh? Oh, okay. There's a delay on YouTube. The primacy of space-time objects, which I call STO, space-time object. Now, objects are quantum fields, basically, and they interact, and they have causal effects, and that's really important. But we can just kind of like simplify it and talk about space-time and objects in space-time. Okay.
So is this your writing? This isn't part of that systems theory book?
Right, it's my writing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. For a minute there, I thought you were showing part of the systems theory book.
No, I just wanted to toss that out there because that's something we're going to be talking about at some point. So
sure,
it just happened to be on my screen. So anyway, okay. So we find ourselves standing in the world as philosophers, right? As 60-year-old or 70-year-old or 40-year-old philosophers or adults who start thinking about metaphysics. We find ourselves standing in a world with a whole huge epistemos or epistemology behind us. We know a lot of things about space-time objects when we first start thinking about philosophy, right? And people, so what the philosophers try to do is get rid of all that and start at the beginning. And I don't think you can do that. And I don't think you should do that. So what you can do is consider how we developed from from single cells, little babies, and how we came up with this whole space-time object theory in our brains, right? So that's the developmental perspective. When we start thinking about ontology, we already have a great deal of work that has been done with us in the world figuring out what space-time objects are. And space-time objects would be naive realism. So that's kind of what that is. So let's see. Okay. So, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Give me that.
So by epistemos, you would just say knowledge base, maybe in other words. Yeah. It's our organic brain-held knowledge base.
Right. And the way we got that is by interaction with the world. So the world has built our epistemology.
Right.
There's something out there that builds our space-time object epistemology. And I will claim that I don't give a shit what culture you are or what species you are. You're going to come up with the very same information about space-time and objects. You're going to know that if you put your hand behind something, you're not going to be able to see your hand, right? You're going to know that
drop a rock, it goes down and not up.
It goes right. Yeah, that too. And so there's this whole set of information that we have about how the world works. And that is going to be the same in every culture. There is no culture that gets out of their hut and teleports or feels that they teleport to another hut. They always get out and walk through space and time. Right?
Not without the intervention of a lot of really cool plants.
Or cool mushrooms, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's right. A mushroom is not a plant. I am such a cretin.
Yeah. So what I do is I say, okay, so the space-time object thing is pretty embedded in how we think and in our epistemology. So I'm going to assume it's true. Just assume it's real, assume it's true. And I don't know of any human being that doesn't deal with it as if it's real. So if you got any philosopher out there that says, oh, that's not real. Well, how do you wipe your butt and how do you feed yourself? How do you get in your car? How do you, pet your cats, care for your children if you don't think this shit is real? So,
I think that's a good principle. When you're putting together your metaphysics, please account for feces. Don't worry about accounting for God or for knowledge. Account for feces.
Oh yeah, you got to account for that. Yep, I probably shouldn't use that example, but anyway. So then the next thing I do.
I probably shouldn't have said that thing about feces, but it is 7 a.m.
It is, right. It's on our minds. I got to clean the cat box. Okay, so the next thing I do is bracket mind. Okay, now bracketing is something that Husserl came up with. It's called epoche or epoch or whatever. And what Husserl did is he bracketed space-time objects. He did the opposite thing. He wanted to talk about phenomenology only. So instead of, so I'm doing what's called a reverse Husserl. I'm saying we're not going to bracket space-time objects and just discount reality. We're going to bracket mind. And the reason we're going to do that is because the unreliability of the mind. Because we can't, you're thinking about stuff right now, Scott. What were you thinking about 16 seconds ago? And tell me about those thoughts. Show me those thoughts. Yeah, every time you show me those thoughts, you're going to talk about coffee, which is in space, which is space-time object. So right. Every time you try to talk about thoughts, where they are, what I was thinking about, you're going to come up with, you're going to be making squeaky noises. You're going to, some linguistics and whatever, but you're never going to be. And then when you think about it, you never really know what you were thinking about a minute ago. You know what you remember now, but you don't remember what you were actually remembering or membering 30 seconds ago. You can only, so, and the other thing is that how do we introspect the mind? We use the mind to do that. So using the mind to look at the mind. Now tell me that's reliable. You're using a hammer to hammer a hammer. It doesn't make any sense. Now they talk about the unreliability of the senses, which they always accept because they want to slide away from realism, right? But now remember, my bias is to bring us back to realism. And I'm going to say, no, the mind is the most unreliable thing we can look at, that we can think about. So anyway.
I would say it this way, that the mind is reliable under a finite set of parameters. And once you get out of those, that's why it's easy to, that's why you can, when you distract somebody with something to where they're noticing one thing, but not the fact that you're picking their pocket or whatever, you can distract the mind with difference in lighting or something like that. Yeah. You can manipulate the mind by changing kind of the parameters under which the mind is optimized. So and of course, how do you know your mind is optimized. Well, you would have to do some empirical testing, and which is why we are very unqualified to use our minds to think about the mind unless we engage some sort of mind independent or testing equipment or something.
Trying to catch up with chat. Universals exist in every culture, society, often be interpreted differently. People from India would be shocked to eat beef or live with dogs. And then Austin says universal: sports, cooking, dancing, visiting, personal names, cooking, marriage. He put cooking twice. Oh, I think he explains that.
Yeah, he's hungry.
Medicine, religion, funerals, sexual tradition. And then, I put cooking twice. And then left-handed Jedi. Okay, pantheistic forms across cultures often share similar power structures: the All-Father, his wife, trickster, God, etc. So all those things are from humanness, right? From human social structures.
Yeah, I would say with the pantheistic forms, although there was a lot of cross-pollination from culture to culture because of migration. So it's not necessarily that they came up with them independently. It's that people from different cultures went into other cultures, and those beliefs were transmogrified, changed, but shared similar aspects. But anyway, it's a good point.
Red string conspiracies.
I don't know what a red string conspiracy is. That like that from that meme of the guy from Always Sunny with the red yarn on the walls and all that?
Oh yeah. I actually did that back when I had owned a software company, and I was trying to do version 2 of a real successful software program that made us a lot of money. And I was so suffering from imposter syndrome that I basically had this idea. This idea was like 20 years before its time and before the processor power to pull it off. And down in my basement, I had strings running from balls everywhere. And and then it ended with a nervous breakdown. That's what happens to tech people when they try to do an encore, right? Yeah, with nervous.
Too many strings, too many balls.
I got really sick from my balls and my yarn. But I was buying all these different colored yarns and different.
You definitely want to keep the yarn away from your balls.
Oh yeah, the yarn in the balls.
I ain't gonna lie to you. You really need to do that. Keep them far apart.
So anyway, so the reason that objects, space-time objects, are something that I'm going to assume are real is because they're intersubjective, because you and I can do a number of different things with them, and they're going to stay. They're persistent objects, and they're intelligible. So you and I could get an object between us, a rock, right? And we could walk around it. We could pick it up. We could throw it. We could hit each other with it. We could taste it. We could, lick it. All sorts of things. We could crack it in half. And all of this remains persistent and intelligible. So there is something about objects in space-time in the universe. And also we could measure with a number of different rulers or mathematical systems using strings and balls or whatever, the distance between you and the object and me and the object. And we could just keep doing that all day long, and it would be mathematically consistent. And it's that consistency that allows us to function in reality, and it's why I assume space-time objects are the ultimate reality. So for me, my God, my tag, my God is space-time object. And that explains everything else to me. I always start there. So anyway, so that's part of it. And let's see here. Oh, we could go over here and take a look at this little piece of work. So here's where I was arguing with ChatGPT. I don't know how long you want to go, Scott. Maybe we had to stop and do this tomorrow. But I had a big argument about it.
We've been going on for how long now?
Hour and 5. 1 hour. Yeah.
1 hour.
Yeah, which is good enough for these things, right?
Yeah, so, I think unless our chat has things they want to bring up and talk about, and I've really appreciated the interaction with our fine folks so far.
Yep.
Some really good comments.
So then, I had a really big argument with ChatGPT about nominalism, and I realized ChatGPT is really a nominalist. It's horrible. So, why won't this get smaller? It'll get smaller. I got all kinds of stuff on.
I would say at least, even with nominalism, there's some physical basis for even concepts.
Yeah. So this is my theory board.
Orthodox.
Yep. This is my theory board. I've got a whole bunch of stuff on here that's.
See, now you only need to draw the balls and draw the red string.
Right, I've got the same shit going on here. Basically, this is look at that fucking mess.
This is a snapshot of Mike's brain.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of this. We're talking about all of this shit, man.
You need to draw little pictures of mushrooms all around it.
Yep.
And cats.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Let me make that small, and let me make me real, so we can kind of sum it up here. So anyway, so that's like, okay. The tag people, now they make a big deal out of. So they're kind of Platonists. And they will claim to be realists about universals, but they insist that the universals can't possibly exist in physical stuff, that they have to only exist in the mind of God. So, but a nominalist will say universals can only exist in the mind of humans. So, okay, consider this for a moment. This is really, really fucking interesting. Let's see. I did the wrong thing. Okay. Kitty, get your butt off my iPad. Kitty's got his butt on my iPad. Not good. Get your tail off my iPad, Kitty. God damn, I got to reposition the kitty. So, you see the problem here? Okay, when they say it's only in the mind of God, that it can't possibly be physical stuff, they're nominalists. Except they're nominalists about God's mind, not our mind. Does that make sense? Scott? Did I lose you, Scott? Oh, no.
Oops, sorry about that. I'm muted.
Okay.
Repeat that. My mind was kind of wandering.
Okay. So, what the fuck do I got? What's that shit? Cat, except cat structure. Universal. I'm not sure. No. Okay. Anyway, okay. So we have, nominalism, right? Says that basically there are no universals.
Right.
The universals exist in the mind of the human, right? So here's what the universals are, right? And now, the Orthodox Christians will say that there are universals, they are real, they are out here, but they can't be physical stuff, so they have to exist in the mind of God. So the universals are in the mind of God.
So we're just adding an entity willy-nilly.
What I'm saying is that they are nominalists about God's mind, right?
Right.
And if any Christian wants to come on, or any Orthodox nutcake wants a Brothorthodox. Yeah. If you want to explain this to me, how I've got that wrong, let me know, because it's really important that we be clear about this. Where do you think universals are? How do you think universals are possible? Do you not think it's only possible in the mind of God? Well, the nominalists will say it's only possible in the mind of a human. So you are the same goddamn thing. So you're not really a realist about universals at all. But I am. So anyway. probably a good place to leave it. What you think?
I think that we've covered a topic.
Does that make sense? That
it does, yeah. My idea is that these universals are in. I don't want to say they're in the culture, which means in the minds of people.
Okay.
And the physical, you have to refer to the physical structure at some point, the physical structure of the universe, for any of this to make sense, because that's all. That's really all we have when you boil down to it.
Yeah, what I'm really interested in is that there is something I call a universal in reality, and then when you put a human into that reality, the human develops a relationship with that something that really exists in reality, and that relationship becomes our concepts, our language, our ideas, the way we interact with the world, all of that. So what I've done is I bracketed mind and humans, and I said, okay, let's just talk about ontology in a cosmos without humans. But then after we do that, we come all the way around, and then we can start talking about what human beings are and where we are and we're objects in the universe. And then you build up, and then you start talking about that relationship between the human organism and these real things that exist in the universe. And that is my biological realism, basically, about mind. Anyway, it's a topic for another morning. But
that's right. I think we have topped off the morning.
We've topped off.
And I still have coffee.
Yeah. Practically, what is ASMR?
I don't know what. Some sort of sensory blah blah blah. It's those YouTube videos where somebody holds up like a plastic bag, that maybe peanuts come in or something, and start shaking it and manipulating it with their fingers, and it makes that crinkly sound. Picking up a plastic bottle and doing this with their fingers. Cool. And it's supposed to be soothing or something like that, and cool. I find it rather trivial, and maybe there are certain sounds that can trigger relaxation or whatever, but not all of them.
Right, not all of them.
Although, let's see, I like a good crinkle sound. I'm not gonna lie.
A good crinkle's cool. I love crinkling plastic bottles. My cats hate it.
Except my dog, my little Chiweenie, whenever I
eat them?
When I crinkle a bottle, jumps like 2 feet in the air, lands on me, and then jumps down onto the floor. It's like
cats do that.
That's just not a natural sound that dogs have developed a tolerance to. At least not little Chiweenies that are high strung.
Yeah, my cats jump about 6 feet, but my sister's dog they fight over those plastic bottles because they love to chew them to pieces.
Yeah,
because they are good chew toys. I don't know if you've ever chewed one, but I occasionally I have a good chew.
I've kept away from chew toys. I really have not indulged.
Oh God, that's subject for another day. Chew toys. Okay, we're gonna get out of here. So thank you guys, you that stayed with us, Left-Handed Jedi, Austin, and
well, I mean, a lot of people probably had to go to work or make their breakfasts and things like that. Could still, Nerdy Rodent. I forgot to say hi to Nerdy Rodent.
Yeah,
but it was great having so many people. I think a lot of these folks we will see again in this live chat of the Damn Network morning show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to see some comments on this video that basically push back on these ideas. Hi, Kevin.
What are your ideas about universals? Do they exist? Are they in the mind? Are they real in the universe? What do you think about coffee in the mornings? What's your favorite morning beverage? There's just so many things. Comment something.
Yeah, it's coffee in my Red Kitty Qualia cup. There it is, Scott. My Red Kitty Qualia cup.
Man, you just made me choke on my coffee.
Okay, we're out of here. Goodbye, cruel world.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a good day.